It's a new day for the truck. Finally got the side off. Wanted to roll it up closer to get a visual representation of where it's going to be at. And I still haven't decided fully on what I need to do here, but I know I need to keep this fender where it's at. So I might just go ahead and cut it off right below the fender, ditch the inner fender part, and keep the new firewall on the 97 Dodge. I could probably just go ahead and drill out these spot welds with the cats in it, and probably just butt it up right there, honestly. Starting to get it all marked up to where I need to bend it and cut, but I needed a good marker for elevation so I can figure out where this line is on the new panel. Fender up here, and took a measurement for the degree of the floorboard and matched it on the fender just to start. And this is where the top of the fender will meet the new truck, so that's going to be below that point where it'll bolt up to. So that's a good reference point, and then I can start basing everything off of that. Not as far as inside dimension, but just elevation. Went from this to this in about 3 hours. Had to drill out all these spot welds. Went ahead and cut this side off because they had a bunch of spot welds, but I'm going to extend the piece on flush to meet my new floor pan. I'm going to have to replace this rusted out section. Looks like this side's worse, so it'll be the same thing. And then down here, a little bit of rust. So there's going to be some patch work that needs to be done. This is rusted out, and this floorboard, and everything needs patched up eventually, but just small steps. Update for today. Finally matched the other side. Cut this and cut all that out in the cross support. I did measure again, and it looks like I'm going to have to cut this up and put a flange on it and put it on the new floorboard, because it is longer by about 1 inch. So I'll probably just cut it off and then weld it on the top when I put it on there. I did go ahead and get this side bent. You can see where the floorboard used to be, and I went ahead and bent it all straight on my line that it needs to fit on, and then cut my support back here for the body. You can see now what I was talking about as far as attaching it to the inside steel where it used to be attached to originally. So I left it long so this flange can be spot welded. I'll drill more holes up here, and then also this main support can be spot welded on it. And I think I'm going to add an attachment to hit that. There's a bottom angle iron piece that's thicker. I'll probably extend it down. I'm not sure where this is going to end up. It might be right on it. I haven't measured that out, but so yeah, all this will be able to be tacked on there. So it's going to be, for one, stiff, because it's a part of this structure. It's not going to bend, and then tack welds or spot welds are just way stronger than a butt weld to it, where it would kind of flex and tear. Also had to remove this piece of metal that came up here. I drilled all the tack welds or spot welds out and cut it here. I'll probably fill that back section in. I think this is like a noise baffle, extra piece of metal for the drive shaft, which is a nice feature. Here's the original seat holes. I'm going to move them back to fit this truck. And that's about it. Got all the edges bent for the floorboard. Put a radius bend for the inner door jamb, like the inner step. Bent this down flush. It actually widens out here, and then bent this up so I can potentially catch the inner flange of the lower cowl. I'll probably have to still add metal to it, but at least I'll catch it that way. I can make it with no lip on the firewall, be a finished, or more of a finished look. Got this side finished up, and I'm getting ready to cut the back out and see if I can get it fitted. Boy, is that good looking. Not me, that. Woohoo! Man, it's fitting so good. See, the floorboard is almost stinking perfect. It is snug. Fits really good. Still needs to go down probably 1/2 inch and about 3/4 on that side. But I'm stopped on the, I can mark this now, but I cut this lip off, and I'll need to mark it and go ahead and cut that and flange it up so I can tack it here. The inspector is inspecting. Here's the passenger side. I mean, it fits like a glove. Super happy. Even that's gonna line up, I think, when I get it dropped down to 3/4. I might just go ahead and throw a fender on or two and see what she looks like, but it needs to drop probably another 1.5 inches in the back. So once I cut that off. So it's not gonna line up completely, but it'll give you a general idea of what it's gonna look like. Well, so much for that. It's hitting the shock tower, so it'll have to be trimmed eventually. And this isn't the fender I'm going to use, but the other fender has the inner fender still attached to it, and it's going to take a while to take them off. But it's pretty cool. Super excited. It's going to be a truck soon. The front is fitting exactly where it pretty much needs to be. Look how much room I got. Perfect fit, man. So I spent the morning trying to align the front fenders and the body with the Core Sport and seeing where I need to put the floorboard, because I measured everything and my marks were close. You see my 2-foot mark here versus my 2-foot mark here. So I'm actually moving it further back than what I was originally planning for. But I think I told, or if you followed along, I mentioned that the back flange I thought was going to fit perfect, and I was wrong the first time. But now, after moving it back to match the fenders, I think I can just tack it onto this back face, which is incredible that it lines up that well. Because the center line of my fender is lining up really good. And also this side's lining up well. And although it looks pretty lined up, I got to consider that I haven't tightened these supports up, these mounts. So this is actually going to squat down 1/2 inch to 3/4 possibly. And the weight of the bed is something to consider if it's going to lean back. I haven't decided if I'm still doing the step side or the flat bed due to the amount of work it would take to do the step side. But I'm just going to make it parallel, the rocker panel with the parallel with the floorboard of the 97, and that will get me pretty much factory stance of the 97 truck. So that's gonna compressing those front mounts is gonna lower the truck to the floorboard a little better too. So still adjusting. All right, we're getting the last look before I take the body up again and have to rework everything. But all right, so the back side, I did get it fitted. Looks really good. It's about an inch or so above the bottom of that lower edge, so I will be able to tack it from this side, or the bottom side on this face. I think I was debating on just keeping this and filling it. I cut it off a little bit too much, but filling it over here until it drops down. But I'm just gonna go with my original plan and cut it down here, overlap or bend the tab, and then tack weld it to the top here to make it look like a factory floor pan install. I'm gonna get ahead and take it. I did measure everything out, and it is precise where it needs to be lined up, and I went ahead and marked, except this kind of, I'm upset about that, where I had to move it back further than I originally thought, and so I'm getting a pretty big gap there. So I'm gonna have to extend this out, just bend the tab further up. But I marked it. I went ahead and marked the inner wall where the floorboard meets, so I can tell where to cut it. And what else I need to show you? Firewall here. It did leave me just enough room. This is where the clutch pedal will go. So I got just enough room above this fender. I had to cut the fender. I just went ahead and cut it straight, since this is where my steering column is going to go, and I want to keep that plate. That's the original. The back of the truck here, I do have the same amount of distance between both sides from the frame rail to this bent flange here. I did have to cut it out for this fuel tank already, and I went ahead and bend this side to give some clearance. I couldn't bend this up, but I'm gonna do it when I take the body off. I'm gonna clean everything up and make sure I can get a good tack on it with clean metal. And so once I get that cleaned up and cut off, bent the flange, I'll drop it back on, tack it to the floorboard, and then pick up the whole truck and start cleaning up the firewall and making this look solid again. I'll probably end up making a whole new piece to fit in there. So that's it for now. New day on the truck. I went ahead and cut these sides last night and this morning. Finished it up this morning, cutting it up. Went ahead and bent this side this morning. You can see what it's going to kind of look like. I probably left a little bit too large of a flange, so I'll have to grind it back, straighten it up too. But the step is pretty shallow now, which I kind of like it shallow. A lot less wasted space. Have to figure out what to do. I left this long because I need to catch that lip. I'm going to straighten that bend out on the floor pan too. But I'll just spend the morning pounding these sides and flatten them out. Got the rear flange bent for both sides. Got this flange bent too. Left this piece since I'll need to, cut this rust out before, and then I'll start patching this side. Probably just do a little patch panel here, something simple, and patch this, and then extend this out flush. On this side, got a little bit more rust. I'll have to fix this, but I think I'm gonna make a full length panel to blend all that back in with some scrap shelf steel that I used to patch the front core support. I got like 3 or 4 of these, so. I'm using this $50 shrinker stretcher combo that I bought. I have one, but this is a lot handier. It came with a stand where I can extend it up or down. Works good for underneath the truck. I got this piece kind of fitted where I want it and had to use that shrinker stretcher and kind of pounded it some to get that radius here. I think that'll work. Got some little patch panel here. I'll straighten it up when I get it back, but I realized that there's a panel inside. This one's solid, but this one is completely rusted out. So this is gonna take a lot more work. Time for lunch. Back to work. I cut this driver's side out. I'm gonna have to roll this bead back to match this. I don't really have the capability of making this whole panel this shape. So I'm gonna try to keep it as much as I can. That's why the notches, and I got a couple steps here. I went ahead and made the inner piece pretty crude because I had to keep trying to fit it. I drilled out the spot welds on this side. It'll fit up in there pretty good. Can tack them in here. So I just went ahead and saved this, even though it's a little bit rusty, but I'm gonna put the plate over it because there's a support down here for the fender mount. So I'm gonna put it over and then catch it here and then come all the way up. The shop floor is covered with rust every time I work on this truck. So I showed you this piece which goes in there. Just got done fitting the other piece I just made, if I can do it one-handed. Yeah, so you can see my alignment marks there. It's not perfectly aligned right now. There you go. But got that roll matched up pretty well and fitted with the other spots. And I'll have to make this piece, since I couldn't get it fitted on one sheet. I don't have a piece of sheet metal that's big enough. And then I'll roll this back once I tack it up and tack it to the other part back there, and then we'll spot weld it here. It's been a long work week. Haven't got time to work on the truck. Finally had time tonight. So I'm putting this first piece in, and I've tacked it up already. Just want to show the fitment of it. Looks pretty good. Already got it spot welded on this side and on top here. So I'll have to make a new piece. This was rusted out too. I'll make a new piece for this and add a flange, and then I'll weld my other piece up. Last night got this other piece tacked in. It doesn't look too pretty, but it turned out pretty good. Spot welded to match this piece, so it's all in there. I'm gonna cut out the piece for this and try to patch the rest of the truck up so I can start putting it on the floorboard. Wanted to pause and show you the progress this morning so far. Got this side tacked up and went ahead and patched this piece up, and I should have cut the thing out further. I had it slated to cut out further, but I went ahead and just thought that this was good metal and didn't check the back side, so I kept burning through. It wasn't the best. Went ahead and spot weld this. This will actually, I'll have to make a new support piece because this was a support structure. It'll probably feather out somewhere up in here, but that's what it's going to look like. The panels I cut out kind of looks like Aladdin's sword. Pretty sweet. And then finish cutting this one out. Got some sweet cardboard aided design. Made that patch panel. Getting better with my panels. Spot welded it on the bottom So, had to patch a little spot here, patch a little spot there. Got the rolled piece fitted up really nice. Bent it on the brake. Another patch. And then this patch didn't turn out well, but we'll fill it up. And then got the other piece in there, which turned out pretty good. So, I'm probably gonna weld this solid since he'll be in the cab. These I'm just gonna leave spot welded, grind them off, and then finish welding them from the front side where it's actually gonna be seen. Time to weld. All right, evening update. Got both sides. Got everything welded on actually. Kind of looks like a bobsled looking thing. But spent the afternoon grinding my welds down and making sure everything's flush and straightened out. Ground all that side off too, and tried to grind the paint off as best I could, so I'm gonna tack to it. Spent a lot of time grinding and wire wheeling rust and weld. Went ahead and drilled all the spots I'm gonna spot weld on the sides and the back. Cleaned up all this edge. This is where the floorboard's gonna sit and I'm gonna tack it to. I also went ahead and re-bent this forward. I think it's gonna give a cleaner look on the inside of the cab. That way I can catch this and trim it to fit and then roll it over, kind of match this. So it's gonna have about an inch flange sticking out all the way down. Makes a stronger joint. So I think tomorrow I'm going to put the body on and try to tack it up and get rid of that A-frame off of it. So I'll see you there.